Shalom everyone, Rabbi Eric Solomon, Raleigh, North Carolina, Loma Morning Torah. This week's Parsha is Emor from the book of Leviticus, and it has a famous line there that says, Lo, do not desecrate, chilul, lechalil, et shem kodshi. Do not desecrate my holy name. And the rabbis quickly interpret that to not just be some kind of ethereal sense of saying God's name wrong or something, but they talk about behavior. That a person who follows the Torah, studies Torah, follows the commandments, the mitzvot, lives an observant life, but acts in a way which makes the Torah look bad. Who perhaps maybe is very learned in the Torah and knows a lot of little aspects of the Gemara and the Talmud and various things, but treats people poorly, does not pay workers on time or pay the butcher on time, or acts meanly to one's neighbor, then that will cause people to look at this person and say, wow, this person follows the Torah, this person is observant, but look how they treat the world, look how they treat God's creatures. This is considered a desecration of God's name. It's not just some kind of God in the larger sense, but the sense of when a person who is supposed to be godly, but acts in a way that is not godly, then that's a chilul Hashem. That's something, it's a desecration of God's name. But I want to bring another idea about this, because desecrating God's name also is when you use God as an explanation for something, but it actually ends up being a source of oppression. It's very similar, but it's slightly different. And it's coming up right now in the issue of the right to choose an abortion, right of choice, reproductive health care and freedom. It's a very serious issue. There's much coming down, the Supreme Court's leaked draft. But here's what I want to say. Judaism, on the main, is pretty clear on this. I mean, obviously there's two Jews, three opinions always, but in general, if you look at rabbinic literature, the Talmud, and even going back to the Torah, we are a pro-life religion, but it's pro-life of the pregnant woman. Life of the potential mother is superseding the life of the fetus. And in fact, Maimonides and other authorities declare that the fetus is part of the woman's body until it leaves the womb. What that's basically, there's much more to be said about this, is say that we are pro-natalist. We believe in if those that choose to have children or adopt children, this is a mitzvah and a beautiful thing. And it's to be supported and honored, in every aspect of our community and our country should do everything it can to support children and healthy children, supported children. However, women should never be forced to have children. Abortion is a legitimate choice, not only for, God forbid, the risk of the woman's life, but also even for psychological reasons as well. Abortion is appropriate and can be chosen, but ultimately it's the decision of the woman herself. And the fact that there are those people in our country who are using God as a way to say, this is why everyone has to follow my view of what God says about, supposedly, about life, fetus, etc., is completely unfair, it's undemocratic, and it disrespects the Jewish religious view on life. So I, in my view, by using God in that way, manipulating it and forcing it on me, you are desecrating God's name. You're using God to achieve your political ends, as opposed to using God in your choice. If you do not believe in having the right to an abortion or choosing abortion for yourself, by all means, go speak with your religious tradition, your leaders, and make your own choices. But to declare that for all of the citizens who have different approaches, religiously and spiritually, based on our sacred texts, to take that away from women, their right to choose. Look, on the extremes, it's a different subject. But on the main, we are a pro-life religion, but our life is of the mother and the mother's choice. So please don't desecrate God's name by telling me that God knows in your religious tradition better than mine. I think I'm pretty familiar with mine. So coming back, Parshat Emor, do not lechalel, do not desecrate God's name. Not only is it about behaving well in a way that's godly and people will look upon the Torah well or Bible well and say, hey, I want to be more like that. But also don't use it as a stick or as a sword to oppress others, God forbid. That is truly desecration of God's name. Shabbat Shalom.